Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today, a new dev diary has finally been released. I love doing these dev diary videos because I really love getting insight into what the developers are thinking and what they're doing. And today we have one on a topic that I have talked on and on and on about, and that is Spellement. So I have really high hopes for today. I hope that I see something good, and I hope that they actually implement something good, because I've been talking for a long time about how I dislike the Spellement system. So today we're going to read through the dev diary, see what's going on, and then I will comment on it and kind of tell you what I think about it. The future of Spellements. This is by Artie, the design director, so this is from a high-up source. Hello Wizards, I'm writing this brief letter to describe our developing ideas for Spellements and their role in the game. This is just a short introduction to the conversation, which will continue during a roundtable focused on Spellements set for February 17th, tomorrow, and hosted by community member Farrick. We all know and love Farrick, and this roundtable is hosted by him tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time. So go check that out if you have any questions for the devs, or potentially just to see what's going on. I know that I'm going to try to show up whether I oversleep or not. You know, that's it happens sometimes, but we'll see. So let's continue on. If you're interested in Spellements and want to join in on the conversation, then come by and hang out with us at the roundtable. The Spellement system has grown from its original design to much more and very quickly. This resulted in today's implementation being a bit wonky, to say the least, that is. Since last fall, I've taken a stronger lead role in developing Spellements moving forward, so here are some things to expect in the coming months. Alright, starting with the first section, Vision for Spellements. As I began reviewing Spellements as they were before, it became clear that their role in the game needed to be clarified. It was evident that Spellements had great potential in being a part of Wizard's progression, but we needed to deepen its importance, broaden its application, and expand the ways that a player acquires them. The Wizard's adventures throughout the spiral, Spellements give them an opportunity to guide the development of their spells. A wizard may choose to increase the power of a spell, thereby making it useful in tougher combats. Or they may choose to modify the nature of their spell, either in response to the spells and the enemies are using, or to synergize with other spells in the deck. The possibilities are endless. This will be a topic of discussion over the coming months as we continue to explore this path of progression. So that's exactly what I view Spellements as. They have potential. They have potential to be a very good system implemented into combat to diversify spells and make them interesting and upgradable. So this is what the original intent was. Adjusting Spellements. For Spellements to be a normal part of a wizard's progression, we need to improve how we introduce the players to them. Players may have Spellements and either not know it or don't know how to use them. We are working on a short quest that will introduce the player to Spellements and their place in the world. Are Spellements worth it, or are they worth too much? Once players know what Spellements are and how to use them, then it's important that there is value in using them. It is important to audit each spell's progression to make sure it's not worth too little, not worth too much, but to get it just right. As I mentioned earlier, the value may come in that the spell simply does what it did, but just does it better. The value may come from some additional effect, whether that is some simple utility to counter something that the opponent is doing, or to complement a friend's spell or your own. The options should be varied and valuable. Where do I get Spellements? Now that players know how Spellements work and know that they have value, we need to do a better job letting players know where to get the ones that they want. We'll help guide players to the primary sources of Spellements they want, but certainly won't list out all of them. Secrets can be fun. This may be defeating a boss of a specific world, playing Beastman events, competing in ranked PvP, or through crafting. Out of all of those so far, realistically, only 2 of those are what we specifically have, which is defeating bosses through a specific world and playing Beastman events. I imagine in the future, and I hope in the future, that we get more bosses, and it looks like we're getting different ways as well, through crafting and ranked PvP, so all interesting ways, and I hope that they continue expanding this way. How do I get Spellements? I mentioned some places where Spellements could be found earlier, which highlights the issue that there are too few places for some of them. We are planning to introduce new sources like the ones mentioned above. Not all Spellements will come from all sources, so you may need to run a dungeon for one, play Beast Moon events for another, or even obtain one in a Spellement pack. Ew. However, at the moment, not only do players not know where to get specific Spellements, but often the sources are too restricted. We are working on improving all these areas. That is exactly what we like to hear. We like to hear that they want to at least increase it. I hope that the Spellement pack isn't the only way to get one. I think the main issue that they have right now, and I'll go further in depth with this later, is the fact that it's so limited in where to get them. Conclusion. This sums up pretty well the long-term plans and high-level direction we are planning to take Spellements and how we want to address the issues the system currently faces. We will roll out the changes in a phased way while engaging the community to make course corrections as needed. If you want to learn more about our thoughts on Spellements, don't forget the roundtable on February 17th. Again, make sure to join that if you want. Since Spellements is an important addition to the adventuring side of Wizard101, expect more dev diaries, roundtables, and maybe a mention or two on KI Live in the future. I would also love to see your thoughts posted on our forums where we can respond to them. Thanks, community. Artie. So, an interesting dev diary, definitely. So, I'm going to go over section by section my thoughts on it, thoughts on whether it's positive or negative, and kind of go in depth on what I think. So, first off, visions for Spellements. I completely agree with this, and I think that this is exactly what Spellements need to be. Spellements have great potential, and I've said this since day one the system came out. I said Spellements are a really good system. It's just the implementation of the system that is bad. And that's what I definitely think is shown here, is the vision for Spellements is really good. The ability to counter opponents, to grow certain spells, and to develop yourself into a more powerful wizard is fun. It makes sense. It also makes sense that, you know, certain spells would get more powerful over time the more you use them, or in this case, the more enemies you defeat to upgrade them. It makes sense that you would be able to upgrade your spells, and that is a classic MMO feature. So I'm happy that they definitely want to do this. I hope that they continue to make it important for the game. For adjusting Spellements, I definitely think that this is a good thing. It says that they need to introduce them. I really hope in that introduction quest, we maybe get some Spellements as a reward itself, maybe able to upgrade one spell, so like upgrade the first tier 1 spell to the second one. I think that would be really cool, and it would be a way to just upgrade it, because I've never even upgraded one of these base Spellement paths. It would just be a fun little thing to actually be able to do. And I think the biggest thing to take out of this is the fact that it is obviously looking to be implemented as a feature just in the game that happens much more frequently. If they are making a quest about it in the beginning of the game and a shorter quest to introduce players to it, definitely I can see it probably becoming a more important system as time goes on, because they obviously wouldn't make the quest if it's impossible to even upgrade a Spellement. So I'm excited for that and the implications of that, and hopefully they'll continue along those lines. Are Spellements worth it, or are they worth too much? This is definitely something that needs to be valued and needs to be focused on, because certain Spellements definitely are more powerful than others and definitely are a little bit broken compared to others. Like, for example, Ship of Fools and Rat Spin both can become the most powerful 4-pip AoEs in this whole game by far with the Spellement paths. So definitely it's important to focus on that and how that's probably a little bit too strong as compared to some of the like rank 1 rank 2 spells where they're a little bit too weak. But I do hope that they continue along this line of adding interesting effects. For example, a lot of the 2-pip spells I think would be really interesting if we could upgrade those at an early level, because they all have interesting effects that I think are pretty cool. Like, for example, I think Leprechaun has the ability to add an absorb to you if you upgrade it in a certain path, and Ghoul I know has the ability to have a 70% heal back instead of a 50% heal back. I think both of those are really interesting, and I think adding effects to different spells could be super cool in the future. So definitely focusing on that would be cool as well, and not just focusing on damage, because not everyone just wants damage. I think side effects are pretty cool as a Spellement feature. Next, we come up to the final 2 sections, and the 2 sections that I think are the most important. Where do I get Spellements, and how do I get Spellements? So already, this was my biggest problem with Spellements as a whole and as a system. Spellements have the problem where they are nigh impossible to get, and by the time you can get them later in the game, you're not even going to use those spells anyway. Like, who's going to use Firecat or Fire Elf when they're level 100, 150? No one. And it's important that they diversify it and make it so that you can get them much earlier. So this may be by defeating bosses of a specific world. This is exactly what I want. I think it would be really cool if they make it so it's dynamic and the system actually makes sense as time goes on. So for example, like Firecat or just simply a 1-pip spell, you should be able to get the Spellements for that in Wizard City. For the 2-pip spells and potentially even the 3-pip spells, you should be able to get them in Krokotopia if they ever do the 3-pip spells. It just makes sense. Maybe even make the 2-pip spells able to be gotten in Wizard City. Just something to actually make it so that Spellements are able to be dropped. I think making it in Beast Moon events, ranked PvP, or through crafting is also really interesting options as well. It makes it so that you can get them much more frequently than we can currently get them. So I hope that that continues on. In the how to get Spellements section, I think that this is something that they need to focus on and need to actually implement in a good way. It makes me a little bit nervous, specifically this section. Not all Spellements will come from all sources, so you may need to run a dungeon for one, play Beast Moon events for another, or even obtain one in a Spellement pack. I really hope that there isn't Spellements that we can only get in packs. That would be really bad, especially if they are a major Spellement that would be important to upgrade. This just seems kind of like they're beating us down, because there's no reason that any Spellement, in my opinion, should ever only be exclusive to a pack. That is the definition of pay to win, and it shouldn't be that way. KingsIsle doesn't want to make their game pay to win. That is always a bad idea and always makes the game worse in the long run. So I do hope that they actually manage to make this into a good Spellement system and overall make that in a logical and fluid way. So ultimately, my thoughts on this, to kind of wrap it up, I think that Spellements are obviously a really cool system, a system with a lot of potential that is implemented very poorly. This dev diary definitely gives me a little bit of hope, at least that we're going to get Spellements more commonly and more frequently. I think that this is a really good thing, and I hope that they continue along these lines in the future, and definitely make it so Spellements are implemented into the base game as a legitimate system. As of right now, they are not, and I hope that that changes. So this at least gives me hope for it. So let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about this dev diary? Do you think it's a good sign, a bad sign? What do you think about Spellements as a whole? Do you think they have the potential to be a good system? I think they really have potential. It's just kind of squandered right now. But that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.